Okay. One second. Do you guys see my screen? Hi, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. So Alexandra is the marketing director at Careerminds, and Josh runs the content marketing. And today we're going to be talking about kind of a case study of how they used SEO to really get the business going off the ground. It's an exciting topic. I'm excited to hear about it.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having us. And we're really excited to show this presentation with your audience. I think a lot of people will really find it impactful. So just to get started, Careerminds is a multi-million-dollar company that was founded in 2008, and we sell outplacement services, which is when companies lay off employees. They send their employees to our organization, and we help them find new positions with our career transition services. And our target is HR decision makers at Fortune 500 companies. And since we were founded in 2008, we've increased our sales consistently by 30 to 60% every year. And then just a little bit about who we are. My name's Allie. Like Ajay said, I'm the marketing director at Careerminds, and I'm responsible, along with Josh, for increasing Careerminds monthly traffic by 937% and monthly lead generation by 6,900%. Before I was the marketing director at Careerminds, I was PayPal's talent attraction digital marketing guru, so I did the marketing for the recruiters. This year in 2018, I am Drift's Demand Gen Hero of the Year. I went to school at KU and focused in management and HR and was an honors grad. I'm a certified Salesforce admin. I have 5 HubSpot certifications, a Hootsuite certification, and a content strategy certification from Northwestern University. And I'm also an avid lover of KU basketball, yoga, reading, and Dotson. Just fun little facts about me.
And I am Allie's partner in crime. I didn't start in marketing at all. I came from a journalistic background. I run all of the content here at Careerminds along with Allie's help. I am the founder and editor-in-chief of The Arcanist, which is a literary magazine, and I'm a former science journalist with Popular Science, Science Alert, and a bunch of other places online like Craft and CBS Radio. Pretty much all writing all the time. I have 5 HubSpot certifications and a BA in English creative writing. And I love books, cats, and bookstores with cats.
So just to give you some background about the history of our marketing operations at Careerminds, I was hired on as the first full-time marketing employee in 2016, and our focus was buying email lists and sending tons of email blasts. And I wrote email blasts 3 times on these slides to emphasize how many email blasts we were doing. And it just was not working. We didn't receive any interest. We didn't get any demo requests. No one wanted to talk to us. And I was so frustrated because my personality is, I'm very curious and I try really hard to succeed. So I knew that we couldn't keep going on like this. So I researched lead generation ideas and I came across HubSpot and the inbound methodology, and I just knew that this was going to be the thing that helped us. Everything about content and SEO I knew was going to change our marketing and sales team. So for those of you who don't know about the inbound methodology and SEO, Josh is going to do a little explainer for you.
Yeah, so it's very simple. Before we were doing an outbound strategy, which is the old school way of marketing, where you send out emails, like Allie said, and you hope that some of those emails reach the right person, don't get hit by spam filters, etc., and then they eventually buy your product. So instead of doing that, what we do is we write content where people that are actually have a problem will go and find it online by either Googling it or some other means. Google's the biggest, obviously. But all we do is try to write the best content with the most information and then have customers come to us. And after they come to us, we can market straight to them. And eventually they'll land on the decision that our product fixes whatever problem they have at their organization.
Yep, that's perfect, Josh. Thank you. So once we implemented this, we saw a 937% increase in traffic and a 6,900% increase in leads. So these graphs are really beautiful. I love looking at them because it makes me feel so good, and I know it makes Josh feel really good as well. but it isn't all peachy. It was really, really difficult for us to switch to an SEO and content-centric strategy. There's a lot of noise in the space, and we had to try a lot of different tactics before we actually saw success. But we did, and we're real people. Like our title said, we're two geeks, and we had a really minimal budget. We spent less than $2K a month, and we were still able to figure all this out. So we're going to go over our 9 steps to success to make a strategy like this work for your organization. And this is tailored to what we wish we knew when we were starting out 18 months ago. So this is perfect for you if you're looking to start some sort of SEO strategy at your organization. So the first thing we did.
We keep cutting each other off. But the first thing we did was start building the team, and that's where I really came in. Allie was here before I started, obviously, and she knew that in order to put the inbound strategy into a working condition, she needed someone that could write the articles every day and really take a hold of the content. You really need 2 people for this strategy to work. One person doing a bunch of research, handling all kind of technical things, and then one person really just digging down and writing content. And I think it's worked out really well that both of our skill sets come together on this.
Yeah, we're definitely the yin and yang to each other, or yin and yang, I think. But I wrote a note on here that we definitely don't keep in our own spheres 100% of the time. We dip into each other's pools. Like I help Josh write blogs, and he will help me with some data analysis pretty much every day. But it is really useful that we both have like these foundational skills that complement each other.
Yeah.
And the next thing we did was get executive buy-in. How can you ask for permission to completely change your company's entire marketing strategy? My advice is be prepared. What didn't work for us was going in and asking for it with just no supporting information. What really worked was piloting products, showing case studies of similar organizations that have had success, showing them SEO keywords and how much traffic they could get and how easy it would be for us to put them in our content strategy. And that was really what helped.
Yeah, and just a word of caution here. Whenever you start something like this, you need to really be honest with your executive leadership and tell them that this strategy works over a long course of time. If you start publishing last week, you're obviously not going to see returns on what you've published yet. It can take a long time for SEO to finally like rear its head. And as long as you're honest about that and you can show gains along the way, they'll buy in once the traffic really starts, picking up. But you have to set the expectation.
Yeah, that's so important, or else you're setting yourself up for failure.
So one of the first things you need to do after you find the methodology and understand it is to start creating content. And this can be easy or as hard as you want it to be, but really it follows a very simple strategy that are separated into 3 different stages. And those stages are the awareness, consideration, and decision stage. And what you need to do is ask yourself, what do my customers need to know to eventually reach the decision that whatever we're offering is the best solution to their problem? Then you write blogs in all of these different buckets, if you will, and eventually you'll funnel them down into an actual buy. We have some examples here about such awareness content and decision content. Allie's going to go into a little more about what our focus was, but I'll just break it down a little bit here. So like Allie said in the beginning, we sell outplacement, which is a thing that happens right during a layoff. So we had to understand every step of a layoff process that an HR department would have to go through. And something that may be awareness is that there is a budget cut or something like that. That alerts the person at the company that, hey, this could eventually lead to layoffs. So we made content for that. And then we go further and further down the funnel, becoming more and more specific until the layoff actually happens. And then we have content surrounding that, which Allie can tell you more about.
Yeah, so our focus when we first started this was the decision stage. And that was a strategic decision that I made, even though, albeit Josh didn't like it all the time, us focusing on such a narrow area. But it allowed us to bring people in that were already looking to buy outplacement. Not everyone that has a layoff needs to buy outplacement. So while that brings in more traffic, it doesn't bring as many highly qualified leads. So when we focus on the decision stage, it really validated our method to our CEO and our other executives, because these leads that were coming in were converting so quickly and they were already researching products to buy. So like an example of this decision content that was really impactful for us, top 10 outplacement firms and how much does outplacement cost. These are things that people are researching when they're looking to buy outplacement. And if you look for keywords that show intent to buy when you're doing your keyword research, this is going to be your decision stage content.
Yeah, and going back just to a general content strategy, one of the things we want to really hit in this talk is that there's a ton of information online about how to write SEO content. And it's really hard to wade through because a lot of the content is geared to sell marketers on other content. And so whenever you apply it to a small business or any business, you kind of have a bunch of pitfalls. So here are my tips for someone that's just going into this blind. It would be, don't have strict rules. I know we just listed a lot of rules before, but really you have to know what the content's supposed to do. If it doesn't have to be 5,000 words long, don't make it 5,000 words long. Allow everything to come naturally, along with the keyword density. Gone are the days of jam-packing every single thing with keywords. Now it's all about filler pages and things like that, which we'll get into in a bit. But you'll also have to be super wary, like I said, about the SEO experts. There's tons, and they make their money from you, the marketer, not for your business. So how they write something may work for you, but is it going to work, in our case, for someone in HR? Probably not. And with that being said, you should write like you are talking to someone from that business. In our little part of the internet here, HR is viewed as kind of stuffy and things like that, but HR people aren't like that. They are usually very friendly, and you have to come at them with a conversational tone and try to be more like a teacher who's talking to someone after class or something like that, instead of someone who doesn't align with what they're thinking. And to that point, you got to be authoritative and definitely become an expert on what you're saying. When I started here, I obviously had to learn a ton about HR and things like that. Still learning about it. And I'm kind of using blogs to share what I learned. And if you take that mentality, things will just work out in your favor, because when people find your content, they also need to like reading it. If they don't read it and click your CTAs, what's the point in inbound anyway? And you also need to stay on brand, get words out all the time, have to write and finish things, and you have to keep a normal schedule without being too salesy, like I said before. So really, it's just writing, being consistent, knowing who you're talking to, and remember that if someone can spot that you're writing SEO content, you're probably doing it wrong. Ali and I always share links back and forth about bad SEO writing. You can see like the keyword may not even make grammatical sense, yet it's repeated about a gazillion times in an article, and people don't respond to that, but it happens every day. And going on from there, yeah, and then the first step of the content strategy is to look back at what you published before you started the strategy and see if there's anything to save. Now we can talk more about that.
Yeah, so for us, when Josh first started, we wanted to focus on historical optimization. So if you're anything like us, you probably have a ton of content on your website that is not SEO optimized at all. For us, we had like several hundred blogs, and the people before just really didn't understand SEO. They didn't understand how to pull in traffic, and there was a lot of good content, and they were gold mines, really. So that's historically optimized. We reviewed in Google Analytics which of these blog posts were getting a lot of traffic, and I selected blog posts that were maybe at the bottom of the first page of Google or on the second page, and then I selected between 5 and 10. I think I ended up choosing 7. And then we went back, Josh really fine-tuned the content, and then we optimized the post for on-page SEO. So we added keywords, we added more information to make it longer, we added links, and we added LSI keywords. And then we added a CTA, which is also means gated content, to convert all the traffic. And this was our results over just this first summer when Josh was here, not making any new content, but just like revamping stuff. And then as far as keyword research, I think this is the most impactful thing that we've done. Like I said, our company used to write a ton of blogs before, but no one ever did any research to see what people were actually searching for in relation to their product. So an example that I think is really funny, I was on Twitter a few weeks ago and I saw that someone posted a blog about outplacement is like a cabbage, which is very clickbaity and funny, but no one was searching for that on Google. So after that has lived out its life on Twitter, it's not really impactful for your brand. So you have to do keyword research to see what people are actually looking for in relation to your product. If you don't do that, it's somewhat of a wasted effort. So here are the tools that I use to really hone in on keyword research. So we have used Ahrefs, Moz, Ubersuggest, and Nangold, and my favorite is definitely Ahrefs. My strategy is to start with high volume, low competition keywords. This really ensures that we're going to rank easily and that it's going to get us a high volume, so it's worth our time. And a lot of you probably know around 90% of all search traffic stays on the first page, and the first 3 rankings get around 61% of the traffic. So that is why it was so important for us to focus on low competition keywords. And then also something that is super interesting, I've been reading more studies about this, the more content that you have about a certain topic, the more Google sees you as an authority. So we wrote about outplacement with a ton of low difficulty keywords. And then as we built up our clout with Google, it became really easy to rank for much harder keywords in regards to outplacement and layoff. So just focusing on these 3 things can really improve your keyword research strategy.
But like I always say, you can't focus too much on the keyword. This is really where the team dynamic comes in. As you can hear just from Ali talking about it, she gets really into keywords, and sometimes those keywords are really difficult. Like I said before, sometimes we don't Google things that are grammatically sound. With a layoff, some people say laid off or something like that, and it can get really odd to try to focus on keywords. So I always say, put keywords in, keep them in the back of your head when you're writing, and instead of just like looking at every paragraph and every header and making sure that you have keyword in there, just keep it on your mind. And then when you're writing, it'll come naturally. Sometimes you may have like part of the keyword and it's really easy just to add the rest of the phrase or whatever you're optimizing for, but you don't need to jam-pack things in there. It's really about a mixture of keyword and SEO optimization plus how the article actually flows and actually reads. Because once again, if it ranks high, you may get a lot of traffic, which is a great metric because it makes everyone feel kind of good. But at the end of the day, no one's buying your product or signing up for a demo because they click off the page after they see that it's just really a list of keywords.
Yeah, and I think this has been such like a thing that we've learned and really found a balance between. As you can tell, Josh is definitely more content focused and I'm definitely more like keyword and technical focused. So when he first started, we focused so much on keywords, and then for a while we didn't focus at all on keywords, and now we've really found this balance where it's great content for people to read, but it's also really smartly done content so that it ranks. I would say it took us 6 months to figure out that balance. Would you agree, Josh?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably like 6 months to figure out the balance, and we really figured it out on blogs that were longer and things like that, where Google's kind of going in a direction where they understand that people stuff keywords everywhere. So what's another method that you can use to gauge a single web page? That's really where the pillar strategy comes into play. For those of you that don't know, the pillar strategy is making one blog post that is usually really long. Some of ours have reached, I think, 6,000 words, which is crazy. And then you have a bunch of supporting content, linked around that one pillar page. So basically it's a link structure, but it is also a really long form, really insightful, keyword driven SEO post And these things can take a ton of time. As Ali can say, I complain about them constantly, but they do work.
Yeah, the pillar content that we've created and the blogs that are a part of the topic clusters, they rank for like 80% more keywords, and they get, you know, maybe 50% more traffic. So it really does work focusing on these topics and writing these huge pillar pages, even though Josh does hate it. It does work.
It does. And it's kind of nice because we don't have to worry too much about the keywords, because we've found that if you write 6,000 words about a topic, you're going to just rake in keywords that you didn't even know you were writing for. And so it's a little nice surprise after all that work sometimes.
So the next thing that we focused on was CTAs. Like I said, CTAs are gated content that you offer to traffic on your website. And it really doesn't matter if you have the best blog in the world. If you don't have an amazing content offer to go with it, you're not going to get any leads for your sales team to follow up on. You just have traffic. So it's really important to focus on this. So when we started focusing on CTAs, you can tell we had a huge upswing in the amount of leads that we were getting. And so what we really focused on was creating complementary CTAs, which Josh has a lot of experience with.
Yeah, one of the biggest things about creating this content is that it's kind of keyword driven, question driven, and then CTA driven. And this is really the exact order we've figured them out into over the course of the last 2-ish years, is that in order to have someone download your CTA, you have to have it intimately connected with what the content is. Like the example here is layoff script. So we talk about how to write a layoff script, what are the best practices, how to deliver the script. And then the CTA is obviously a sample layoff script. We're very lucky and fortunate to be in the HR space, which is something that I couldn't believe, you know, back when. But HR people love forms, and there's a lot of them. And now all we do is we look at the forms that most people need, and we make content surrounding them, and then we frame it as a question. So these things go hand in hand. Takes a lot more time because every article pretty much that we put out has a brand new CTA in it. So Ali usually makes the actual downloadable CTA, and then I make the landing pages and the emails and obviously the blog and things like that. So you're really doubling your work, but you're setting yourself up for more success than if you didn't.
Right, and from our experience, we started out with like one CTA, which was the layoff script, and it did really well on the blog about layoff scripts, and then when we put it on other blogs, it just did not do as well. So we decided to come up with the complementary CTAs, and you can see, I'm going to go back a slide, but when we started doing it and stopped using the layoff script is when we had a ton of success. So number 7 is how to optimize for non-content SEO factors. So we focused on 3 things, and the first thing we're going to go over is CTR, or conversion rate. And I'm not talking about the conversion rate on the blog of getting someone to download a gated content offer, but actually the conversion rate on the Google search page. So what we found is if you're really thoughtful about creating your titles, you can actually improve your conversion rate. And if you have a high conversion rate, Google takes that into account for SEO and moves you up on the search page. And Josh has gotten so good about like figuring out what works for us.
Yeah, and again, we're kind of blessed to be in like this very corporate space where not a lot of other sites or even our competitors are thinking about how people read online, which is really strange to me, but hey, that's what it's like. So really, we just took a lot of strategies from how online publications work. We, do lists. People love clicking listicles, and then we ask questions. We try to make a curiosity gap by explaining a little bit of the topic and then making them click for more. This is different than like clickbait, which is, like number 7 will blow your mind and it's really crazy and out there. It's just really like every HR person should know this, and here's the topic. Here's how you learn more. A lot of people in our space are very curious, and you kind of got to take that into effect whenever you're writing headlines, because at the end of the day, that does seal the deal on the initial click.
Mm-hmm. Something that we found works really well for our audience is everything you could ever want to know. That phrase really gets people in the HR space. And so if you ever go to our website and look at our blogs, we have a lot of blogs that say everything you could ever want to know about a certain topic.
Yeah, those are usually filler too.
That worked. Yeah, yep. So I think that's really interesting. And then the next thing that we focused on was backlinks. So the more backlinks that you have pointing to your page, the higher it will rank. And the higher the authority of the pages linking to your site, the higher it will rank. So some tips on this. You can network and create partnerships and use guest hosts and, ask your connections to link to your blog if they write about similar topics. But for us, for the amount of content that we were publishing, it just was not possible to keep up with. It would be what I do like 40 hours a week. So if you don't have enough resources, you can outsource to a guest blogger. We found ours on Upwork, where there are a ton of different companies that their whole line of business is creating new links. And the final thing is don't buy spammy links. If it's too easy, if it's too cheap, probably bad, and Google will penalize your site. And we did get penalized, and thankfully I noticed it right away and was able to disavow the link super quickly, and we recovered within 2 months' time. But you have to be really careful and make sure that you're doing the right thing so that you don't end up hurting yourself.
Yeah, and just from the content side of things, if you are a content manager at a company that has a pretty strong blog presence, you're going to get tons of emails asking people to write stuff for you. And at the beginning, that may seem like a really great idea. In fact, sometimes it is. But everyone knows the power of backlinks right now, and you're going to get a lot of people. I don't know if they're from companies overseas or something like that, but you'll get some that sound great, and then you read them, and it ends up being a giant waste of time. And you also have to make sure that they're not linking back to one of your competitors, because there's no such thing as truly free content. You have to remember that, and if they're getting something out of it, whether it's their own brand, which is always nice, or it's to link back to some website. So really pay attention to what content you're getting. Only select the ones that are going to actually make your blog better, and definitely be honest and open. Maybe have a policy on your site about how you do backlinks and things like that. And just a tip about linking in general, if you want to make a authoritative page and you have to link back to some source, for us, like Forbes and The Balance, they're all technically competitors, even though they're digital media companies at the end of the day. So we don't really want to link to them, but a good source of a great link is to go to Google Scholar and actually find a science journal that has written a paper about whatever you're talking about, and link it inside of your post. It'll help you rank better without giving any backlinks to the competition. And it's worked pretty well for us, I'd say. Yeah,
I think that's been one of our best finds that we've found with backlinks.
Yeah.
Or for high authority links, yeah. Okay, so the next thing that we focused on was bounce time. If your blog has a bad bounce time, which is the amount of time someone spends on your website before they jump off of it, your rank will actually weaken. So we've improved our bounce time by writing in-depth, really exhaustive content. Josh covers pretty much every single angle that we could ever want to about a topic in a blog. And we don't use misleading headers with the title. We're never going to have clickbait that makes someone feel misled when they come and they see that it's not about what they thought they clicked on. And then we also have a lot of extras on our blog. So we have videos, GIFs, SlideShare plugins, and really using all of this has made people stay on our website pretty long. We have a really great bounce time and bounce rate. So the next thing that we focus on, tip number 8, is data reporting. This is one of our competitive advantages. Without the focus on data, we really would have never been able to get as far as we've come, because we take the time to reflect and make adjustments and figure out what's working for us. So the metrics that we focus on, starting out with traffic, and I would look at the traffic week by week and month by month, and I would filter it down by source. I'd also look at the bounce time, and then I'd look at how many people were clicking on our CTAs, and what that conversion rate was from blog view to CTA clicks. I'd look at the conversion rate once someone was on our landing page. I would figure out how many backlinks I needed per blog to get a certain amount of traffic and to rank a certain place on Google. And then I'd also monitor the number of ranking keywords we had per blog post. And then obviously MQL, demos, and clients. And now that we're further in, we are doing so much more with data analytics. We're tracking so much more, but really this is what you need to get started. And I would say it's really important that you have good expectations for your people that are doing this, because if you only have one person and you want them to keep track of all this data and make insights, they're not going to have enough time to publish a blog every single day. So it's really important that you set up your team or your expectations to be realistic, but it is really important that you do include this kind of data reflection time.
Yeah, and what this allows you to do as well is to, all the time, historically upgrade your content. So if you published something 3 months ago and it's not doing anything, go back to it, look at all these metrics, see what's going on, and make some changes. I feel like a lot of people write a blog post and then they wash their hands of it, and you can't do that because that content's still up for grabs. And if you just make a couple really easy edits by adding either more keywords, LSI, just more copy in general, maybe explore more of the topic, more backlinks, all of these things can impact where you rank. So if you have a poor performing article, never let it die. Those things should always be living, and you should always be going back and optimizing them and seeing if you can get them to go higher and higher.
Mm-hmm. And without our really focus on data, we would have never figured out that when we do go back and audit our blogs, that we can really get stuff to grow. I mean, we've gone back and audited blogs that have moved from the 3rd page to the 1st page just by making some modifications. We would have never figured out the complementary CTAs, or we would have never realized historical optimization was important for us. So it's really important to focus on this. And the last thing, number 9, is creating an inbound culture. So to ensure that your marketing strategy holds up over time, you need to have buy-in from the entire organization, just not your executives, but also your salespeople who are taking the leads that you're giving them and turning them into clients. It can be really hard to get people on board with change. If you've ever done any change management research or taken a class, you know that it's really difficult. So you have to have a strategy and a plan to get people on board. So some of the things that we've done, we communicate our successes to the entire organization so that people start to jump on the bandwagon. A lot of people are bandwagon people, and if you have one person that got a huge client from a lead from SEO, then other people are going to say, hey, I want leads from SEO, and then you get people interested in what you're doing. We also approach our most innovative salespeople and ask them to collaborate. We ask them to write a blog, record a blog, and lately what they've really been helping us with is brainstorm different topic ideas, which then they send to me, and I can do keyword research about them, and then Josh can write a blog. And then finally, we share our success stories and our inbound content really regularly, to the point where I feel like they're getting notified all the time. We have a weekly internal newsletter that goes out and tells them what we publish. They get automatic notifications, and we go over it once a week during our team meeting. So I think all of those things have helped them with the change management.
Yeah, and this is honestly like one of the toughest things. Well, maybe it's just tough right now because we're just really getting it together, but it's really hard to get the buy-in for something like this, especially if you're coming from a strategy like we were using before, where salespeople would send email after email and then cold call and do all that. Now you have to have them be more consultative and ready to talk to people, even if they're not ready to buy tomorrow. It's a long process, and for some salespeople, they really will push back on it. And as well as every other thing on here, some people will love to write a blog. Maybe they write on the side. That's great. But some of them won't want to, and you can't expect them all to. So it's really up to your organization, but it can be a real challenge when you get started, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So what does the future look like? through data analysis, I'm able to predict that if our growth continues for about 2 to 3 more years, we're not going to be just the biggest outplacement company on the internet. We're going to be like the biggest HR website on the internet. So in the next 12 to 24 months, we can predict we're going to have over 100K monthly visitors and just thousands of leads for our salespeople, which is really like very exciting, and we're excited to see how it changes our company. And that is it. If there are any questions that popped up, we'd be happy to answer them.
All right, very nice. That's I mean, that's really in like an end-to-end view of how you take a website. I mean, it could be a brand new website, it could be an established website, and it's a framework for turning it into something that is attractive to your end customers.
Yeah, definitely.
I did have some questions and some notes. You know, I really like the approach that you guys take on kind of the framework you use for creating content with the pillar and the clusters. And I started thinking, well, it makes sense that you have like a main topic, and then you kind of have satellite topics that maybe aren't, you know, as in depth, but they're still relatively in depth. Like, how do you manage the I guess the difference between the size of like the pillar content versus the smaller content? Do you have any considerations there?
Well,
yeah, so,
I can tell you from the
yeah, you go with the data side, and I'll talk about the writing of it.
Yeah, okay.
Better.
So as far as planning out what we're going to write about and the keyword research, I pick a very broad topics for the pillar page. So for example, we write about phased retirement because that's related to a product we sell about retirement. So we would write a pillar page that is 6,000 words long and would have pretty much everything anyone could want to know about phased retirement. And during that process, we probably find other keywords that are related that are more in depth, and we will hint on those in the pillar page, but we don't do really in-depth explainers. And then we take those lists of more in-depth topics. For example, how does phased retirement affect your pension? And should you worry about age discrimination if you have a phased retirement program? And those we probably can't write 6,000 words about, but we can definitely write like 1,000 or 1,500 words that are more in depth and explain those questions that are more specific in regards to the broad topic. And Josh has like a whole bunch of tactics that he uses to like actually write it.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a challenge to get, 6,000 or so words out about any topic. So really, I look at it like I'm going to explore every little nook and cranny, and then I just write that journey out. And a lot of the subheaders of these things, so like phased retirement, one of the subheaders could be like, how does phased retirement impact benefits or something like that? And then you have a whole nother blog. And really, it's about putting about half of that blog into the pillar page, and also having CTAs for each one of these little things. So if we talk about this thing, we have to have a CTA for it in there. And then you branch all of those off, and suddenly you have a full content strategy around one topic. And like Ali said, it really depends on what you're trying to get across. We do have articles that are about 500 words that actually do rank because of the keyword difficulty, and also they're just a question. They do what they say they're going to do. But then you also have to just make sure that every other topic that you write about that has to do with that, like phased retirement, links back to it. So even in the future, whenever you find some phased retirement keyword and you write a normal 1,000, 1,200 word blog, just link it back to that pillar page, and you're still propping it up. And then over time, it's huge.
So
I think you shouldn't be afraid. I think you shouldn't be afraid to go back and forth between your content and SEO person, because like I'll make a list of SEO keywords around a topic, and then Josh will go off and make the pillar page and all the smaller blogs. And after he's done all that research, he'll see that there are things that we didn't find during SEO keyword research that we should write about. And then surprisingly, we've done that several times, and we've ended up ranking for things that we didn't even know were possible. So it's a great practice that's really opened our eyes to different areas of content.
While you do this exercise, are you paying special attention to the URL keywords in the URL? Is it just whatever the title is that
Yeah.
becomes the URL? How do you approach that?
Yeah, so we do like follow the normal SEO guidelines without trying to have, well, we always have the keyword in the URL and the headline and all of the headers. So, well, most of the headers. Sometimes you just can't fit it there. Don't force it. But we also put the keyword behind pictures and stuff like that. And we use a little HTML optimizing text that helps Google crawl the page. It just explicitly says what the keyword is. When you get to a giant pillar page, though, you really have that like crown jewel keyword, right? That like Ali finds and she's like, this is a good topic. And then from there, you're going to use that keyword with a whole bunch of other phrases and stuff like that. And that's where the other ranking will come in, if it does at all. And so really you just optimize for the one and you try to pepper it in as much as you can following the normal SEO strategy and really just see what happens. That's the hardest part is like writing one of these and then waiting to possibly like 3 or 4 months to see what happened. Yeah.
Makes sense. And then you also mentioned using content upgrades throughout your content, and not only content upgrades, but customized content upgrades for each article you create. And I think people understand the concept of content upgrades, but then it becomes kind of difficult to actually know what the right upgrade might be and what will increase the chances of people actually opting in for it. Are there any specific kind of frameworks that you use for choosing the right kind of upgrade for a specific article?
I think Josh mentioned this like very quickly when he was talking, but we try to create our complementary CTAs based on keyword research, which like I know a lot of companies will just create an ebook around a certain topic and put that on all of their blogs around that topic. But for us, we have a lot of forms and policies and procedures and calculators that people are interested in because we've found a keyword that says people are interested in severance pay calculators. So anything around severance pay, we'll insert that if it makes sense. It's really just like a different style where you're thinking CTA first.
And like, we have a lot of forms. So what we can do in a blog post, say about the layoff letter, for example, we could actually just explain how to write a layoff letter and use samples from our CTA in there. And then maybe twice, once up top, once at the very bottom, say, download the sample that you can customize to your organization here. So sometimes I strongly believe that people just click on the site and they scroll down and they download the form because there's no other place to get it that easily. So that's kind of, it's not even an upgrade. It's actually just giving them the thing they need to do their job in a way.
And when we say forms, we don't mean like forms on our website to fill out. We mean like HR forms that HR professionals need. That might be confusing for someone in the audience.
Yeah.
So it's really trying to understand what your user actually needs, what can make their life easier, and figuring out some upgrades around that. That's a good tip.
Yep.
And then I wanted to finish with, I think big content is just kind of intimidating sometimes for people.
Yeah.
And at first, it's, if you're not used to doing it, it's a lot of work and it can feel like a lot of work. But after a while, you start getting a process down or you get the right people and components in place to make it a little bit easier. Have you been able to identify any like frameworks that you have or any processes that you have that make creating big content a little bit more easier and repeatable?
I think go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, no, I think it's always going to be difficult, but once you do write a couple, you start to really know what your topic is. And I think like I'm at the point now where I could get any topic from HR and I could definitely do probably 2,000 words. And it's just about being conversational, really exploring it as much as you can. And then, once you get to 2,000, you might as well just keep on going, And the big thing is to look at it in chunks, really. Is that you start with this giant topic, but as you do research and as you write, you uncover that there are actually a lot of little topics in this giant topic. And then you just explain them, just like you did with the big one, all the little pieces. And once you stack all this together, you end up, with a giant piece of content. I think the harder well, not the harder thing, but the thing I'm always interested in is how do you get people to actually read all of this content, or at least read it enough to where they get to a CTA that they want to click on. I don't hear a lot of people talking about that. They really just say, you know, you need it to be this long to rank #1. But like if I get to something and it's 10,000 words long, as a reader, I'm not going to read 10,000 words, you know, so it's kind of figuring out the balance.
Yeah, and then as far as like a process and organizational standpoint, when we're creating big content, Josh and I are really great about collaborating, where I'll do a lot of like the keyword research, and I'll give him all of my research about what people are interested in, and then he uploads his task to a Trello board that we share, and then I see he's working on this really big blog, and then I'll talk to him and we'll figure out what CTAs we want to make, and I'll make those while he's writing the blog, and then we just constantly update this Trello board. That kind of is like a blueprint of our collaboration, and that's been really helpful and useful for us to stay organized, because it can just be kind of a disaster if you don't have a process, especially since both of us work virtually. But that seems to really help us stay organized.
Yeah, that's helpful. Trello is a free project management tool too, so it's easy for anybody to use. One thing I like to do sometimes is if we're in like an industry that we're not really sure of and we have to create some content, it's always nice to get insights from competitors who are maybe trying to do the same thing, just to get that framework and build from there. All right, guys, this has been awesome. If our listeners, if our viewers want to get in touch with you, where can they go to contact you?
LinkedIn is the best place. You can find me, Alexandra Brown, and I work at Careerminds.
Yeah, you can find me there as well on the Careerminds site. If you have a guest post that you think can get through my filter, shoot it over our way. And I'll be happy to talk to anyone about writing or anything like that.
All right, awesome, guys. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Everyone have a good day.